With AG layer comps, you can save different views of your document. This example is for the design of an app where a single illustration is used to create the individual screens in the app. Here you can see I've set up some layer comps for working on this project, so I can click to see the whole illustration at once, or I can zoom in and look at one screen at a time. And I can save a view without the gold coins showing, so this way I can work on other states of the app. I'm using the AG Layer Comps panel to save my favorite screen positions and zoom levels for this document, and then I can turn things off and on in the Layers panel that I want to show or hide in that view. So you can see what I've set up so far. Now I'll show you how I created these and how to create more layer comps from what I have here. So to begin, we need to go up to the Window menu and down to Astute Graphics, and then right here to AG Layer Comps to open it. Everything is controlled here in the panel. You'll click on the little left-hand thumbnails to change the view. And now let's say I want to create a new one. So I'm going to my first screen view, and then I'll zoom way in on the main character here. And to create a new layer comp, just click the plus button. And I'll name this Close Up and click Create. And here's the new view. So I can easily now jump back to seeing all my screens at once or the close-up view. Now let's duplicate an existing layer comp because this is one of the ways I really like to keep my views consistent. So if I jump over to screen 1, this is actually how I want all of my screens set up. So to begin, I'm just going to go here to the flyout menu and choose Duplicate Layer Comp. And that copies the layer comp for screen 1, and we can see it down here, screen 1 copy. Now, I want this one to be screen 2 actually, so I'm going to pan over to get it centered up in the window. And now I need to do two things. First, I'll click the Update Layer Comp button, and that saves the new position to the layer comp. And then I'll rename this, just double clicking on that layer comp, and I'll change the name to Screen 2 and click OK. Now, I also want to create one with the coins hidden. So with my new layer comp selected, I'll go to the flyout menu again and choose Duplicate Layer Comp, and there's my copy. Over in the Layers panel, I have the coins layer here. I'm going to turn off its visibility, and I'll click the button to update this layer comp. And now I'll go ahead and double click on it to change the name so I can see that it's with the coins off, and click OK. So now, clicking on the thumbnail buttons, I've got screen 2 with everything showing and then one with the coins hidden. And next, I want to move these new views up in the order so that they sit right below the screen 1 views. These two buttons right here allow you to change the order. There's no dragging and dropping in this panel, but I can select multiple layer comps by holding Shift as I click on them. Now I have both versions of screen 2 selected, and then I'll move them up in the order so that they're sitting right below screen 1. Now everything's in order, and then we also have these arrow buttons at the bottom of the panel so that you can page through all the views in order like this. I can also make a selection of layer comps using the Command key on a Mac or Control key on Windows to select views that are not right next to each other in the order, like screen 1 and screen 2 with coins visible. So now I can use those arrow buttons to jump back and forth between those layer comps. So we've covered all the buttons at the bottom. We can page through our layer comps, update selected layer comps, and change their order using these buttons here. And of course, we can create a new one with the plus button. And then finally, we have the trash button. So I can click it to delete the selected views. And to select a few more, I'll hold Shift while clicking and delete those. And then, of course, I can undo that because I want those back. Now I'll jump to my close-up view and maybe I'll zoom out a bit here. And now let's take a look at the Options flyout menu. Now, most of these items are already available in the buttons at the bottom of the panel, but notice here we have Restore Last Document State. There's also a thumbnail for this at the top of the panel. So even after I've gone through my other views, I can always click this thumbnail at the top of the panel or choose Restore Last Document State in the Options menu to get back to that last state that maybe I hadn't saved yet. Now let's go back to the Options menu and focus on the items that we don't have buttons for. So there's duplicate, as we saw before, for copying a layer comp. And then we also have one here called Unify Center and Zoom from Selected Comp. And this can be really helpful, and you also probably want to proceed with caution here. So let me give you an example. So if I go to all screens and I decide that this is the zoom and centering that I want for all of my layer comps, I can unify this by choosing this option. Now what happens when I go to screen 1, the zoom level and positioning is the same, and it's the same for every one of my layer comps. So this edits all of your layer comps at once. If you ever do this unintentionally, you can use undo, but you'll need to undo multiple times because each one of these views, each layer comp I've clicked on, is a separate history state in Illustrator. You can see this in the Illustrator History panel, just going up to the Window menu and down to History. Everything we did in the AG Layer Comps panel is well documented here, so it's not hard to find the Unify, Center, and Zoom, select the state right before that, and then I can just close the History panel and things are back to where they were originally, and I can continue working. Now let's say I want to save a special zoom level. Like I'll change my view here to 200%, and now I'll click the plus button to save it as a layer comp. And here I'll uncheck Capture View Center. So this way I'm not saving the position, only that 200% zoom level. And so now wherever I am in the illustration, I can just jump to 200%. Finally, all of these layer comps are saved with this document, so I can always come back to them when I open it again. And I can save my layer comps in a template file, so now every Illustrator document I create for this app project can have the same views applied.